Looking for NFL Week 10 betting picks and fantasy tips, expert injury analysis, fantasy football advice, and NFL best bets? Well, my friends, you are in the right place. This NFL Week 10 betting picks and fantasy tips edition of the Degen Docs on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code SGPNDOC to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and the NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamepodcast.com/rhythm. Welcome, DJ Far and Wide. Okay, we love to do this. Let's talk injury. Biggest one. Brandon Ayuk, ACL, MCL, multi-ligament knee injury. He's out for the season. Josh Allen, anytime touchdown, plus 850. This was 10-1 earlier.
On a Denver standpoint, new defense to get the inside.
Welcome to the official Degen Docs Red Zone Pitching Hour.
The only thing I want to bitch about is basically they were so bad that CD was just, he had a decent day. Let's get this. I'm going to hijack this. We're going to go to the professor's office hour.
Oh!
Here.
Welcome, Degens far and wide, to another edition of the Degen Docs. What is up, folks? I am one of your hosts, the OG Degen Doc, and I am joined by my brother in degeneracy, my co-host, Derek Bennett, a.k.a. Professor Locks. How we doing tonight, brother?
Better than the last couple fucking days, dude. I've been sicker than a dog.
Wow, before we talk about you bitching and moaning, let's take a second to appreciate that fire-ass intro video. Shout out to the intern who shall not be named. You know what? We're going to do our first cheers to the intern. Cheers to you, audience, because that was pretty fucking sick. So apologies for running.
Major upgrade to the music alone, and then just you rolling in with welcome.
Whoa. You're gonna start the show talking shit? Is this how we're doing it? Look, folks, I apologize for a little bit of the late start. We had to make sure we got the intro video all ready.
Technical difficulties along the way.
Yeah, whatever. You're fine. You're drinking. It's all good. So, hey, we appreciate you kicking with us, folks. We are going to get into our injury analysis, of course. We're going to get you these Thursday Night Football breakdown and bets. Trust us before this game kicks off here in about 35 minutes. So do not worry there. But my friend, Derek is a little bit under the weather. He's powering through. Like a true degen, he decided to say fuck his classes, but decided to do the podcast. So we
gave me a little extra time to analyze the board for this upcoming week. I think we got some bangers.
That's not a bad play there, folks. So if ever in a spot where you just want to get more time to gamble, just call in sick. It'll be fine.
Exactly. So take all right, man. Make it up on the weekend. You'll be good.
You'll be fine. Let's talk about some of these trades, man. We had some decent NFL trade deadlines. I don't know anything really too crazy, but what do you think was the best and maybe the worst trade for this NFL trade deadline?
I think the most impactful one will eventually be Marshawn Lattimore to Washington. Washington, it's amazing what they've done in a short period of time. Getting, Jaden Daniels there, probably going to be the rookie of the year. And, he's kind of in MVP talks a little bit as of late, which is kind of surprising. But, he's played like it. And we know that defense over the last few years has been a major struggle. But they've come around. Secondary is still probably a weak point. And Marshawn Lattimore, once he comes fully back from that hamstring injury, will definitely be a major part of that. The most questionable is probably, obviously, I think it's been overspoken to this point is the Cowboys coming out and getting another wide receiver. I just don't know where that necessarily came from. You just had a quarterback that basically has a partial tear of his hamstring. We'll talk a little bit more about that probably here in a bit. But at the same time, like, what are we doing? He hasn't done anything to this point. So, yeah, I don't necessarily understand what
I think
Jerry's looking for there.
With the Mingo trade, it's more the price, guys like DeAndre Hopkins,
yeah.
Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson.
If they get him for a 6th, are we talking about that trade?
I mean, yeah, probably not. But I mean, what has he done? You could just throw him a bag of Lay's chips and let half the air out, and you'll be fine. So
for sure.
Definitely questionable. So yeah, my best trade, to be a little bit contrarian, and a lot of more trades, definitely one that's going to take the impact for sure. But I'm going to go Zadarius Smith for the Detroit Lions. No Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport on the IR. Last year it was the cornerback secondary position. This year it seems to be the pass rush. Like, that's kind of the missing piece, the missing last infinity stone for this, Detroit Avengers team. So I think Zadarius Smith can have a great impact. And I think, he's shown, I mean, obviously he's been overshadowed by Myles Garrett for a couple of years, but he's very capable. Another sneaky one, Baron Browning going to the Arizona Cardinals. They lost their top 2 pass rushers in BJ Ojulari and Dennis Gardeck, 2 season-ending injuries. This is a team that is getting healthier and really meshing well. So, that one. And then I'll give you a different one on kind of one I'm like, Tre'Davious White. He's a guy who wasn't starting on the LA Rams. He's coming off an Achilles and an ACL tear. Maybe the change of scenery gets him back to where he was, but he looks like an absolute shell of himself. So, for a Baltimore team that we'll talk about has real questions in their secondary, I'm not sure this was the answer.
Yeah, no, he definitely looks like he's lost a step. I don't expect him to be out there tonight, especially short week going into Thursday night, just getting traded on Tuesday.
He's already been pretty much
that one when it first happened. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then the more we were texting, and the more I got to looking at that, it's like,
3 years ago, right? Maybe 3 to 5 years ago. That's an amazing trade. It's the position of need. It makes sense. It's just not the guy he was. So we'll see. I mean, maybe change of scenery. Maybe he gets back to his old ways, but coming off 2 significant injuries, and he was basically benched in LA. So good for LA to get something for really a guy they weren't planning on playing. All right, my friend, do you have the bye weeks up to tell the good people so they are aware?
For sure. So on bye this week, we have the Green Bay Packers, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Cleveland Brownies, and the Seattle Seahawks. And all 4 of those teams, a couple of them were kind of beat up to begin with. A couple of them had started to slide a little bit to begin with. So I think they're probably perfectly fine going on by. On the other hand, I don't know if this Green Bay team, if maybe it bucks the trend a little bit after playing the Lions. We've talked a little bit about the biting kneecaps trend. The week after facing the Lions. It'll be interesting to see how Green Bay bounces back after the bye.
Yeah, shout out to Noah Beanick's dad for that one. What a legend. What an absolute legend, man. All right, so let's get into it, folks. Let's get into our injury rundown, injury update here. Again, Monday is a little bit heavier with the injuries. Thursday is a little bit more of an update, right? So if you have questions about specific guys, right, especially if they're kind of more the tier 2 guys, maybe someone we're definitely not going to talk about, put it in the chat right now so we can make sure we get to it. We get your answers, questions, whether it's fantasy, whether it's prop market, whether it's just you're a fan of the team. Put those in the chat right now so we can make sure we can get to them. All right, let's start off with Goldilocks, a.k.a. Trevor Lawrence, a.k.a. I don't think he's a good quarterback. Left shoulder injury, non-throwing shoulder, unlikely to play. Weighing options, seems like, will he get surgery? Will he not? Jags team that's pretty far out of the playoff race. For me, I'm thinking potentially labrum or AC sprain, one of those. Do you need surgery? Or, it's better, but you're going to wait till after the season type deal. How do you read this situation with Trevor Lawrence, unlikely to play this week?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of one of those things that kind of just popped on our radar in the last couple of days here, and he played last week, didn't look awful, didn't look great at the same time, but like, kind of like you were saying, like it's one of those things that like he might be seeing the writing on the wall. The Jags franchise as a whole maybe kind of saying, hey, all right, we're what, 2-6, 2-7, whatever they are at this point. Could we kind of salvage the rest of T-Law's season, get him right going into next year, so that way, he was dealing with a lot of shit at the end of last season too, and he really started that downward spiral the last 4 or 5 weeks of last season, and it continued into this season. It may be a good option just to give him some time to get his head back straight, get his body right. At the same time, like, what are they really playing for at this point in the season?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, we're going to talk about it when we get to Mr. Dak Prescott there, but
Yeah.
I mean that 2-7, the division. I mean, obviously Houston's kind of running away with it. Even the Colts are a much better team.
Sure.
I mean, even though they did beat the Colts, but still, this is one of those decisions where I think that they still view him as a franchise quarterback. So
they just paid him a shit ton of money.
Yeah,
so
yeah, they extended him.
Might as well invest in the guy that you just invested in.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yep, great point there. So, obviously Trevor Lawrence very doubtful this week. I would say there's a really good chance he might be shut down for the season. All right, let's talk about a guy, Michael Pittman, a guy who's been kind of up and down. Back injury that was going to hold him out weeks, and then he said, "Nah, fuck that, I'm playing." Yeah. Now back with two straight DNPs with a back and finger injury. Now they're talking about he's week to week. We've heard this story before, and he played, but he practiced fully on Friday and then played. So I don't know if he's a guy we can really rule out all the way.
Sure.
But where are you at with this kind of back injury here for Michael Pittman?
Yeah, it's this is another tough one because, like you said, I mean, he had this back thing pop up 2-3 weeks ago. He's played through it, has had very little production. I think he's only had 1 catch the last 2 weeks, and I think even last week, if I'm remembering right, he didn't practice or had limited practices most of the week. So, will he end up suiting up? He very well might. Would I be trying to get him in my fantasy lineup? Probably not. Over the last couple of weeks, since this back thing has really started picking up, he hasn't had much production to begin with. And we know, if you're not practicing, if you're not playing football, you're not getting better at football. You're not making that connection with Joe Flacco, who's now the starting quarterback over there. So, again, will he play? Potentially. Am I expecting much? Probably not, especially going up against the Bills.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I a guy who's really trying to be a warrior and fight through it for his team, but has not been very effective. And, he really hasn't been Flacco's number one guy. Josh Downs and Alex Pierce. Pierce have kind of taken that role over. All right, we're going to keep bouncing around here. Let's talk about, how about the Tampa Bay Turf Toes? We've got quarterback Baker Mayfield, 2 straight DNPs with a toe injury. They've, Todd Bowles has said he's going to play. It seems like they're doing a bit of load management there, like Bucky Irving, who's been dealing with the turf toe and is going to kind of handle that throughout the season. Baker, a little bit of a mobile guy, but, really doesn't rely on his legs. How concerned are you for this week?
For this week, I guess I'm not too terribly concerned off the get. I think my bigger concern is, like, when are all of these injuries going to start catching up to the Tampa Bay offense? They've already lost Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Bucky Irving's kind of been that guy that stepped up in the backfield, but like we've said, he's kind of going to play through this turf toe thing, and it can pop up at any time. Baker's now dealing with the turf toe. It's only a matter of time, in my opinion, that this Tampa Bay offense, who's really looked pretty damn good, is gonna have to start slowing down just because they're so beat up.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jalen McMillan's still not practicing, Sterling Shepard not practicing. So, I mean, eventually you're going to run out of wide receivers at some point. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, definitely giving a valiant effort. Their defense has just been
I fully expect him to play. I mean, Baker has been known to be a tough dude, and especially at the quarterback position. Like most of the quarterbacks throughout the league, maybe outside of AR-15, is that they try to play every snap that they can.
Yes, opting out of a drive is typically not the way you want to be if you're trying to be a franchise quarterback. So we're gonna move around to some quick ones here. Darius Slayton, Giants wide receiver, concussion, straight two not practices. He's not gonna play. He's unlikely to make the trip.
Yep.
Same thing with Chris Olave. I mean,
Yep.
Chris Olave is the situation we talked about on Monday, but this could be closer to a Tua situation where he misses multiple weeks, if not completely shuts it down. I mean, he's dealt with multiple concussions in a short period of time.
Yep.
I think this is fifth or sixth of his career going back to college. So this is one of those where, he's seeing a brain specialist. He's going to weigh his options. Again, another team where the Saints, I believe 2-7, lost season for them too. So
Yep.
We'll see how this plays out, but definitely don't expect Slayton or Olave in your lineups. Guys that you can expect in your lineups, according to my calculations. Let's talk about AJ Brown really quickly.
Sure.
Limited practice on Wednesday, full practice on today. This is someone we talked about on Monday. MRI revealed no structural damage really at all. More of a contusion type. We said, let's look at these practice reports, but he's got a good chance to play. I think it's pretty cut and dry, with a full practice on Thursday. Any reservations there with AJ Brown?
No, I think especially going up against the Cowgirls, the Eagles will just want to keep piling it on to the downfall of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Drake London, another guy with a hip pointer, kind of a really bone to the bruise of the hip bone there.
Yep.
Another guy we talked about on Monday, but he had 2 straight limited practices. Obviously, the limited practice start of the week was a good sign. I still think this is a good sign. We'd love to see a full practice on Friday to have some more confidence in him, but where are you at right now? Kind of, Drake London, does he play or does he not?
Yeah, I again expect him to play in another division matchup against the Saints. It's mostly a pain tolerance thing. So as long as they're able to get that hip in decent position, I fully expect him to play. Will he be on a limited snap count? Potentially, but I think going up against that Saints defense, he has a really good shot at having a good weekend.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about a couple more guys, and then we'll get over to that Thursday night game here. So we are going to talk about. Let's talk about quarterback Dak Prescott, the guy who hamstring injury, and then he, it was a little bit more severe. And now I was reading it was an avulsion tear, which I will let you explain to the good people. But where are you at Dak Prescott?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely something that he's going to be out at least, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks, if not longer. It will really depend on, how the next 4 weeks go for the Cowboys, in my opinion, whether he comes back at all. I think with an avulsion fracture, that partially torn hamstring that he has, basically his hamstring, where it attaches into the bone, has actually pulled off and potentially pulled part of the bone off of it as well. So with that, bones take about 6 weeks to heal. And if it's truly an avulsion fracture, it's actually pulled the piece of bone off there, meaning it's going to take at least 6 weeks just for that fracture to kind of heal back down. If it's more up in the tendon or up in the muscle, it could be another 3 to 4 weeks until, the muscle's fully healed. At that same time, we've talked numerous times how hamstrings are one of the most burdensome injuries to come back in season. It feels better before you're ready to go back. We really can't test that hamstring out until we get into high speed running, jumping, cutting, those kind of things. And usually as athletes, they just want to get back on the field as quickly as possible. As soon as they feel good, they want to get back. With hamstring strains, that's usually not the best idea.
Yeah, recipe for disaster. One more guy I want to get your opinion on, and then we'll move on over Thursday night. Christian McCaffrey, 2 limited practices, but he is expected to play, come back off that Achilles tendonitis bilaterally there. Where are you at with Christian McCaffrey? Are you trusting him in your lineup this week?
For sure. He was the number one guy in fantasy to go into drafts for a reason, especially going up against the Tampa Bay Bucks. That defense, although they are decent against the run, they have given up a lot of yards this year. So whether it is Christian McCaffrey carrying the ball or out of the backfield as a receiving threat, which I think has really been missing in that San Francisco offense, I think he will be the Christian McCaffrey of old. I don't necessarily think there will be a ton of rust to rub off there. I expect him to have a pretty good day on Sunday.
No, I'm agree. I'm all full wheels up on Christian McCaffrey, in my opinion. All right, a couple guys I want to quickly note. Nico Collins was expected to make it back this week, but 2 straight no practices. Not a good recipe for success. Clearly a long shot, doubtful at best for Nico Collins, unfortunately. And Tony Pollard also dealing with a foot injury, 2 straight DMPs as well. So ones to watch out for, not trending in the right direction. All right, folks, before we talk about Thursday night, I got to tell you about what we got going over here on SGPN. College basketball is back. If you haven't already, subscribe to the College Experience for their daily picks podcast, breaking it all down. And thank you, as always, for tuning in to the Degen Docs. If you get over to Spotify and give us a 5-star rating and review, not only will we be happy, but our bosses will be happy. So only you can prevent corporate gambling. So we appreciate you, folks. All right. Joseph, you did not miss the Thursday night props because it is time to talk Thursday night. And we're going to be in another situation where, due to a little bit of a late start, we're going to give out these bets and we're going to see if we get any cashes live on air like we had. Right. Let's not forget Josh Oliver a couple weeks ago, plus 850 anytime touchdown. So we have got the Cincinnati Bengals heading to Baltimore to take on division rival, the Baltimore Ravens. We got Cincinnati catching 6 on the road at +6, -108 when we had it about 30 minutes ago. Baltimore laying 6 at home. Over/under sitting at 52.5. Do you want to give do you have the live lines up right now?
I sure do. So right now we're sitting at the Bengals being 6-point dogs against the Ravens. Over/under is 52.5. We can get the Bengals on the money line at +220. And the Ravens at -270.
Perfect. All right. So yeah, it looks like it's teetering a little bit more towards Baltimore. So I'm gonna do a quick injury preview, and then you're gonna tell me how this game's gonna go down. We're gonna talk about what we like best. So for the Bengals side of the ball, we talked about Zach Moss likely out. I mean, he's out for the season. So it clearly neck issue with the running back. We've seen Chris Carson have to retire from something like this. So it's a big deal, right? Eric All out for the season with the ACL tear, the tight end there out of Iowa/Michigan. T. Higgins and left tackle Orlando Brown are both out tonight. Those are huge. That's the 2 biggest ones. Who will be playing tonight? BJ Hill. He was questionable coming in. He had 1 limited practice. He's going to be a little beat up, but he's going to give it a go, try to stop and get in the way of Derrick Henry. And then Khalil Herbert, the new addition coming over from Chicago with fresh legs. He's going to be active as well. For the Baltimore Ravens side, no Isaiah Likely for them, but Keaton Mitchell does make his debut coming off his ACL plus significant knee injury return. And that's really it from the injury side. So, Bengals coming in a bit more beat up, and the Ravens have thankfully pretty damn healthy. How do you see this going down, and what are your best bets for Thursday Night Football?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think we're in for a good one here. And I think in general, we're expecting points, and sorry about that. We're expecting some points, and I think at the end of the day, these offenses are way better than their defenses. Neither one wants to play defense. I think Cincinnati ends up keeping this fairly close, so I am on Cincinnati +6, but I do think that Baltimore ends up pulling this one out in the end. So I have Baltimore winning, Cincinnati to cover. So I parlayed them together. I do think Lamar has some success through the passing game. So I took him over 2 touchdowns tonight. I think Mark Andrews has a little bit of a night. So I took his over 3.5 receptions as well as an anytime touchdown. I'd also think Deontay Johnson gets going a little bit for Baltimore. So I took his over yards as well. I took his 25 plus. I probably should have laddered his, to be honest. So once you start getting going, I may jump back in there and give his ladder. I started looking back when he was in Pittsburgh. The last time he didn't have at least 30 yards was all the way back in 2020. Against the Ravens. So he does play against the Ravens pretty well.
Against the Bengals.
Against the Bengals, yes. I do think Joe Burrow does have to throw the ball a lot tonight, so I have him over a half interception. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a few
expand the board a
things
little
that I'm
bit.
on tonight.
Yeah, so I can't completely drop, the good old John Hancock down on what you said because I am on Baltimore tonight. I know you're threading the needle there, taking Cincinnati to cover and Baltimore to win, which is typically the way to go with these AFC North matchups. But when we look at when they played last game, where in Cincinnati went to overtime, really Bengals kind of let that one get away from them. 3-point game. You had T. Higgins and you had Orlando Brown. T. Higgins is instrumental, monumental to this offense. The Baltimore Ravens are not great at stopping the pass, but it's a lot easier to stop Jamar Chase, who went for almost 200 yards against them last time they played, when you don't have T. Higgins to worry about. So I feel like that makes enough of a difference for me. Also, with no Orlando Brown, this Cincinnati, what the fuck do you have to say? Why are you
I
raising
thought you're the Mike Gesicki fan club. Come on now.
I am in the. Let me. Don't steal my bit, man. No, don't worry. I am strongly in the Mike Gesicki fan club. Do not worry, but that's going to come a lot in garbage time. That's okay. So yeah, no, I'm on Baltimore -6 for the game. That's the side I'm on. I think they really handle the Cincinnati Bengals and kind of get up on them pretty quickly. So going off that game script a little bit, give me Derrick Henry over 100+ rushing yards at +135. He rushed for 92 yards at 6 yards a carry with only 15 rushes last time. That game script was not going to be as friendly to him as it will be tonight. I expect the Ravens to be out to the lead. On the flip side of that, Chase Brown under 50.5 rushing yards at +135. I'm going as alt under there. I think he only had 42, or he was definitely under this number last time they played. Also, I think Khalil Herbert does get a little bit of run tonight. The Ravens much better at stopping the run, only giving up about 70 yards on the ground, 75 yards than the pass. So I think the Bengals get down and they get pass happy very easily. So we could very easily see Burrow throw the ball 40, 50 times tonight. So give me Chase Brown under there. I will, John Hancock, your Deontay Johnson, 25+ yards at +130. He was not brought there to be their wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. Nope. I'm throwing the ball over to Deontay Johnson over guys like Nelson Aguilar and Rashad Bateman. Zay Flowers has done great things. I think Zay Flowers continues to eat. But 25 yards for Deontay Johnson, a guy who was just a wide receiver 1, you got to be kidding me. So I think that I agree with those ladders there. And then Mike Gesicki, 2 straight weeks without T. Higgins in the lineup. He's gone for over 70 yards. So give me a 70+ at +220. Coming off a 2-touchdown game, he's the clear number 2 wide receiver there. Linebackers in Baltimore have trouble covering the tight end there. So I like Gesicki. Justice Hill, 25+ receiving yards at +180. Justice Hill is my guy. He got us paid the very first week against the Chiefs. I think the Keaton Mitchell news is getting overblown. This is a running back coming back for his first game off a significant knee injury. Derrick Henry and Justice Hill are really solid running backs. I don't think there's a need for Keaton Mitchell. I think he gets maybe a couple carries, but I don't think he gets as much burn as people are talking about. So give me Justice Hill there. And then I got to throw in my defensive side. Jermaine Pratt over 8.5 tackles at -105. Him and Wilson are tackling machines. He had 9 last time they played. And I talked about game script. I think they're going to see a lot of Derrick Henry in the A-gap, and Pratt's going to have to be the one to suck it up and figure out a way to get him to the ground. My sprinkles for tonight, my anytime touchdowns, Khalil Herbert at 4-1, and Charlie Kohler. Look, Isaiah Likely. So Charlie Kohler, anytime touchdown at +425. Isaiah Likely scored 2 touchdowns against the Bengals last time they played, and so did Charlie Kohler. That's 3 tight end touchdowns against this Bengals team the last time they played. I think there's a lot to go around. Yeah, I think Mark Andrews gets his, but look for Charlie Kohler to have a little bit of a day. I will also be on his receiving yards ladder, but I like the touchdowns here. And those guys, both around 30-1 in the first touchdown market, if you really want to get DGen with us tonight.
That's right.
All right, my friend. Anything else to say about this Thursday night game that kicks off here in about probably 10 minutes or so?
No, I mean, I would like both of these teams to lose, or maybe just tie.
I was wondering who you root for in this as a Lurs fan there, but okay.
Well, I mean, so evidently I kind of lost track of this, but I did bet Baltimore to get a rushing touchdown in every game this season. They fucked that up against the Commandos. They rushed for like 240 yards, didn't get it in the end zone.
They really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So so fuck them. And then I did bet Joe Burrow to win the MVP, and he has been playing pretty well. So if he ends up playing better than Lamar tonight, even better.
All right. Yeah. Okay. We'll see.
But at the same time, I could just be fine with the tie. I
With the tie?
hope they all have fun.
Okay, all right. Let's calm fuck down there. All right, so moving on out of the Thursday night game. Get those in, folks. That kickoff I would expect in around probably around 8:20, maybe 8:15. Amazon's pretty good about kicking it off pretty close.
Yeah.
All right. Our week 10 fantasy football loves and hate for this week. Where you at? Who you taking? You talking loves or hate this week?
What did I do last week? Do you remember?
Fuck if I know, dude. I don't even know.
Give me the hates. Give me the hates.
Go.
I
All right.
I had enough bitching on Monday during our bitching hour. I'll continue with the hate side. Give us the loves.
The loves. All right. I will give us our optimism for the show. So week 10 fantasy football loves. These are guys who we think are going to absolutely smash this week in fantasy. Obviously, it translates to the betting markets. Brock Purdy. He's coming back. He's got his nice shiny new toy of Christian McCaffrey. Especially love McCaffrey out of the backfield this week. Jawan Jennings is back in the lineup. You got Debo. Obviously, no Brandon Ayuk. But you got a Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense who's still going to have no Jamel Dean. It's going to be very beat up on that secondary, and it's just not very good on defense. Their offense can score. You know, Baker is taking some janitors with him into the end zone. So there's going to have to put up some points there for Brock Purdy. So we really like Brock Purdy to have himself a day. DeAndre Swift going up against the New England Patriots. Both these teams really have been really bad against the run. You know, you have a situation where Caleb Williams is not super great. So the best way that the Bears have for a path to success is handing the ball off to DeAndre Swift 25, 30 times and letting him tear up this bad New England Patriots defense.
3 straight weeks of over 100 yards from scrimmage.
There you go. Yeah, so Swift like looking to take advantage of a porous New England defense. And then Malik Neighbors. Finally, we're hoping for a Malik Neighbors explosion game there in Germany. The poor Germans, we are making them have to watch my 2-7 New York Giants and the 2-7 Carolina Panthers. So, you know, hopefully Malik Neighbors at least gives them a show that they won't just need to get insanely drunk and drink the Hefeweizens over there. So Malik Neighbors, I like him to have a little bit of a day there. So those are our loves for NFL Week 10. Why don't you bring the party down and tell us who you hate or who we hate this week in the fantasy space?
Yeah, CJ Stroud and the Texans have the daunted Detroit Lions biting kneecaps all the way down there to Houston. The Lions did pick up some defensive help at the trade deadline with Zadarius Smith. CJ Stroud has just had that sophomore slump that so many quarterbacks end up having. He doesn't look the same. And again, they have the Lions, who are top 5 in the NFL on defense coming down there. So don't expect him to do much. Javonte Williams and the Denver Broncos going up against Kansas City in Kansas City. And the Chiefs have been the best defense against opposing running backs to this point in fantasy. So again, Javonte Williams, best of luck to you. And then Brian Thomas going up against the Vikings. The Vikings, who in general, Minnesota has given up some yards through the air, but give Mac Jones stepping in there for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Mac Jones.
Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily trust Goldilocks or Mac Jones. No. But if I were to pick one or the other, I would still probably side with T-Law there. So Brian Thomas, best of luck to you going up against Minnesota, but I'm not expecting much.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. It's Mac Jones. Not a starting quarterback in this league for a good reason. All right, we're moving over to the betting space, and we're going to talk our props of the week. I will kick it off here. Give me Tyrone Tracy, 80+ rushing yards at +100. Tyrone Tracy has been one of the few bright spots of this New York Giants team. The Carolina Panthers giving up, I think it was almost 150, 160 yards on the ground. The Giants are actually favored in this game, almost by a full touchdown, which is terrifying. But game script wise, I do expect them to be playing with the lead. You have Bryce Young starting for another week, going up against a team that leads the NFL in sacks. Probably not good for him. So Tyrone Tracy, he's been, again, very explosive running the ball. The Giants' interior offensive line has actually not been too bad. They can rush. Their pass protection has been a little bit iffy, but their run blocking has been pretty well. So I like Tyrone Tracy to cement himself and have a day. I really like Neighbors and Tracy against Carolina. And then Tyler Algier, 40-plus rushing yards at plus 100, just entirely too low. He hit this number last time he played Atlanta, or last time he played the Saints. The New Orleans Saints are a team that seem to just have quit. They fired their head coach. They traded away one of their best players. They got players tweeting, Michael Thomas is calling everybody out. He's not even on the damn team. You got their players saying, how the hell did we lose to the Panthers? I think this is a situation where, look, I know it's the NFL, but there is no motivation for them to come out here. I think Atlanta gets up early and they just run the ball. They're resting Bijan, and I think they let Tyler Algier. No one's going to want to tackle a bowling ball running at you when you're defeated. You're losing the game. So I'd like Tyler Algier to eat, especially in the second half. And then Ramondre Stevenson, anytime touchdown at plus 160. He's hit this in the last 3 weeks. I think with Drake May, this Patriots offense is actually not terrible. The Chicago Bears are missing a couple of defensive backs. I think May is going to be able to move the ball. And Stevenson, whether through the air or on the ground, he's their goal line back. He's their RB1. I think that's just way too high for a running back number one price. So give me Stevenson there.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels going up against my Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm taking his under 46.5 rushing yards, mostly because Jaden Daniels plays fairly similar to a guy that will be playing tonight in Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson plays awful against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Steelers are coming off a bye. Mike Tomlin against rookie quarterbacks, pretty good record. Mike Tomlin off a bye, pretty good record. And I think in general, the weakness of the Steelers is still through, at least on defense, through the passing game. So if Jaden Daniels is going to put up some numbers, I think it's going to be through the passing game, not necessarily through the rushing game. So give me his under. Chuba Hubbard, over 68.5 rushing yards. Over there in Germany, I don't know how the Panthers are necessarily going to move the ball against the Giants, but Chuba Hubbard has definitely kind of risen as a pretty good back this year. Just got paid, and I expect him to have a pretty good day against the Giants in Germany. And then DeAndre Swift, I already talked about him having a pretty good last few weeks, going over 100 yards, but he's also scored in 4 of the last 5 games as well. I expect him to do that again this week against the Patriots. So give me DeAndre Swift anytime touchdown at plus 110.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right, my friends, it's time to tell you about Underdog Fantasy. That's right. Underdog Pick'em has one of their biggest menu for all of sports. They've got NFL, college basketball, MMA, NBA, all the things. You can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. So sign up with promo code SGPNDoc to claim your special pick and first-time deposit up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPNDoc. And, of course, we've got our Underdog Play of the Week. My friend, I will lead us off, and then I'll let you take the last one there. So we already talked Tyrone Tracy. Obviously, if I like him at 80 yards, I like him higher than 74.5 rush yards there. So don't need to spend a ton of time. But Cortland Sutton, we talked about hating Javonte Williams, and the reason for this is we expect them to be playing from behind. We think they're going to have to throw the ball. The Chiefs secondary is very good, but they lost Jalen Watson. They picked up some injuries back there, so a little bit more susceptible. And out of pure necessity, we think the Broncos are going to have to throw the ball. And Cortland Sutton has been a guy who's been very productive this year. Him and Bo Nix have built some nice chemistry. So let's hope that Cortland Sutton doesn't have to be throwing the ball a lot this week and that he can actually catch some passes there. And then what do we got for our last one?
Yeah, let's take Aaron Jones higher than 16.5 rushing attempts. He has hit this in the last 2 games. And just game script wise, we expect them to be ahead of the Jacksonville Jaguars and kind of trying to burn clock come the fourth quarter. So Aaron Jones can definitely do that. Give us higher than 16.5 rushing yards or rushing attempts. Excuse me.
There we go. We got Tyrone Tracy higher than 74.5 rush yards, Cortland Sutton higher than 52.5 receiving yards, and Aaron Jones higher than 16.5 rush attempts. Put those all together, and $15 pays you $90. That's a nice 6x your money. All right, my friends. It's that time. It is best bets time. Look, coming off a 4-0 week on the locks for myself. Hoping to keep it running. Let's keep it going here. A couple of nice juicy dogs, and we're starting off with one. Arizona Cardinals money line plus 110 against the New York Jets. New York Jets couldn't even run a full practice yesterday because of how many injuries they had to their offensive and defensive line. I understand they beat Houston Texans. I think the Houston Texans were primed for a loss. A team that I don't, and a team that I think is getting much better, is Arizona Cardinals at home. Look, they're getting back right tackle Jonah Williams. He's getting healthier. And we just talked about they brought over Baron Browning to give them a little bit of a pass rush. Aaron Rodgers has been about as immobile as any quarterback. I think that people are still holding on hope to the New York Jets being a good team. We've seen them be a dysfunctional organization. And as much as people were low on the Cardinals to start the year, I think we're still getting some nice value with, when we look at the product of what we've seen this season, I don't understand how the Cardinals are underdogs in this game. So give me them on the money line plus 110 at home dog there. Also, Minnesota -7, -108. Mac Jones, do I need to say more? I mean, what are we doing here? Jacksonville Jaguars already been a dumpster fire of an organization. Minnesota Vikings, on the other hand, have been very well organized, well coached. Kevin O'Connell has them rolling. They just covered this number against a much better team in the Indianapolis Colts on the road. So I like them to go into Jacksonville and get the job done. Again, Mac Jones is a team that's already ready to quit. Doug Peterson, his seat is very hot. So I like Minnesota to go ahead and deliver a nice blow, and maybe we get some Peterson is fired news. Maybe with Trevor Lawrence injury, they won't do that. But hey, as bad as Trevor Lawrence has been as turning the ball over, I mean, he definitely has a nice solid arm and good relationship with Brian Thomas that I don't think Mac Jones has at this point. So give me Minnesota there. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers. We talked about it. Mike Tomlin off a bye. Mike Tomlin against rookie quarterbacks. Look, I think the Steelers go into Washington. First of all, this game is going to be an amazing game. Two teams squarely. This is going to be a playoff game, right? This is two teams squarely in the playoff race. I'm very excited to see this
division
game.
Leaders.
Yeah, division leaders there. I do think the Commanders are susceptible, though. Unfortunately, my New York Giants couldn't take advantage of them, but I still think they're susceptible on the run with no Jonathan Allen. Marshawn Lattimore is not going to be out there. He's still got his hamstring injury, no practice this week yet. I do not expect him out there. So Russell Wilson, we didn't talk about this, but Mike Williams and Preston Smith, some sneaky good ads for this Steelers roster. They're getting healthier. They're getting back center. Zach Fraser. I really like the Pittsburgh Steelers this week on the money line plus 124. And then finally, I gave this out on Monday, but the numbers actually come down a little bit. Rams versus Miami over 50.5. I expect fireworks next Monday night here, or this Monday, excuse me. Rams, they got two offensive linemen back in Steve Avila and Jonah Jackson. They're getting healthier on the offensive line. They've got Puka Nacua. They've got Cooper Kupp. They've got Kyron Williams. And then Tua, Tyreek, and Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane can still put up points. So I expect this game to be a shootout, both these teams to be in the 20s and to pop over that 50 points. All right, my friend, what are your best bets for Week 10?
Yeah, I'm looking to bounce back. Week 7, Week 8, I was on a 7-1 streak last week. We're not going to necessarily talk about that, but we're going to jump back on the right side of things this week. So give me the Buffalo Bills at -4 against the Colts. I just think that the Bills are a better team in this matchup, and the Colts, although they are getting healthier, Flacco did not look very good last week. So give me the Bills at -4. The Atlanta Falcons against the Saints. I gave both of these out on Monday, but give me the Falcons at -3.5. Yes, the Saints did fire Dennis Allen. I don't necessarily think we're going to see that post-coach firing bump that we do a lot of times. The Saints team as a whole just seems to be that dumpster fire, like Seb was saying a little bit ago. And I don't necessarily think that the troops will necessarily rally around Rizzy. Give me the Chargers at -7.5. The Chargers have been putting together a pretty good run here. And against the Titans, I just don't think the Titans are going to be able to do hardly anything on offense against the Chargers. So I will take a little bit bigger of a number at 7.5 and take the Chargers. And then you already talked about the Steelers. I had to take somebody on the money line. Why not the Pittsburgh Steelers going against the Washington Commanders? Like I said before, Mike Tomlin is a stud off the bye against rookie quarterbacks, and especially when a rookie quarterback looks like your arch nemesis in Baltimore there. They play very similarly. They kind of have the recipe to stop Lamar. And I don't necessarily see what is going to be a whole lot different against Jaden Daniels. So give me the Steelers on the money line at +124.
Yeah, no, I like it. Definitely, obviously, co-signed the Steelers play. Really, really love Tomlin there. I think everyone's going to be on the Commanders, which is how good they looked. So excited for that. All right, my friends, we were going to give you our DGen parlay, send you off with a little DGen into your weekend. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Rhythm. That's right, Rhythm. We're talking models and we're talking sports, but we're not talking the cover of Sports Illustrated. We're talking about our friends at Rhythm, the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the abilities to build custom predictive betting models in seconds. Get predictions for betting on money line, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model. No, we're not talking about one of them Japanese sex robots. We're talking about build your own sports betting model or copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard. So head on over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM for your 7-day free trial today. Also, let's tell you about our friends over at BetUS. That's right, BetUS, bet with the best in the business for over 30 years. They've got easy deposit features with cryptocurrency and lightning fast payouts. U.S. players are welcome. You can go ahead and grab your Pittsburgh Steelers money line over on BetUS because if you go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com, promo code SGPN, you can get a deposit bonus match there. So use that promo code SGPN so they know we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. All right, it's time. The end of the episode. It's time to get a little bit degen, a little bit degenerate. So without further ado, my friend, tell the folks how they can cash a plus 12187 this week.
Basically 122-1 to have basically 5 studs score touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce, and Raheem Mostert all to score on Sunday. Pays out for an easy 122-1.
Wow, just like that, 122-1.
122-1 for 5 dogs.
This isn't financial advice, folks, but sounds like a good investment to me.
All
right. Mine, a little bit simpler. 3 guys I really like on the ground to get over their numbers there. Tyrone Tracy, 100 yards. Talked about him. Najee Harris, 3 straight games with 100 yards. Again, the Washington Commanders defense is not fixed. All right. They played some bad offensive. They still don't have Jonathan Allen. You can get off on the ground on them. DeAndre Swift did it. I think Najee Harris is able to do it. And then Tyler Algier. I talked about Tyler Algier against this Saints team that has basically quit. He's a guy that definitely, second half with his team in the lead, he's still running hard as hell to get you that. So that is a nice 51-1 there, plus 5097 for 3 things to happen. All right, friends, that is it. Looks like the alcohol is running low, so it's time to make sure we cash and watch these bets cash over on Thursday night there. So, got anything for the good people before we get out of here?
Well, yeah, tell your financial advisor that you've made some good investment tips by watching the Degen Docs. Make sure they follow us on X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all the things. Next time you go to the doctor, tell them you've been cheating on them. You've been going to the doctor's office at the Degen Docs. Make sure they follow us as well. We appreciate all the follows, all of the support that y'all give us. Anything helps as far as reviews, follows, all of the things.
Yeah, well, look, folks, I can't follow it up much better than that. Every Monday and Thursday night at around 7:15, bearing any technical difficulties. Yeah, that's what we're shooting for. 7:15 live on X and YouTube. Come hang out with us Monday night. A little bit more injury analysis, fantasy football heavy. Thursday night, we're trying to win you some damn money. Look, folks, if you enjoyed hanging out with us, because we've enjoyed hanging out with you, please, like Derek said, like, comment, subscribe, all those good things so our bosses stay happy and we get to continue to do this. All right, my friends, you know what they say. A lock a day keeps the bookie away. And here at the Degen Docs, we've got your prescription. And we are out of here.
Good ride.
What's up, Degens? Doc here. As a proud member of the U.S. Army and a lover of football, sometimes those two things cross over on here. But as you probably already know, as a lowly captain, these are just my opinions. These are not opinions that are representative of the entire DoD or the U.S. Army. The same thing goes for any references to any commercial products or hyperlinks. Again, that does not constitute an endorsement from the DoD or the Army. I hope you enjoyed the show, and as always, let it ride, baby.